I think it's time to give our thoughts on Picard season 2 so far. So yeah, let's rock it. Oh yeah. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here on the Real Brian Show. Let's talk about Star Trek Picard. Captain Picard season 2 so far. Let's hit record and see what happens. You did that. You actually I'm just going to call in and see what happens. See if Brian's there or not.
And, I was you were there right away.
I was here, man. So that's I love it.
Very good timing.
Yeah, we did that the other day too. Let's make a pizza and see what happens. I mean, it was awesome. Let's do this. And I'm kind of liking this new let's see what happens kind of effect.
It's less work on your end too.
Sort of. It's but it's more fun. I got to tell you what. Yeah. All right, dude. Star Trek Picard. So we talked about Star Trek Picard season 1, episode by episode when it came out in 2020. Did not want to do that this time. There's a lot of love and hate, going on with the show. So I'm like, we'll stay away from that. But we had to at least talk about season 2 so far. Now, ironically, by the time this releases, I think the penultimate episode will be out. We've only seen the first, 7 or 8 or whatever it is. There's 2 more, I think.
Yeah, I've seen 8. So
the penultimate comes out next week, this week basically that this is releasing, and then the 10th one. So we may come back for a quick all right, overall thoughts for the season super fast, but I wanted to at least just talk about it so far. So overall thoughts, first of all, for the season so far for you. What do you think?
I'm enjoying it, but I'm coming to realize that I liked the first season better, which surprised me. At the beginning of season 2, I kind of thought that it was going to end up being better than season 1. Of course, subjective, but
sure.
But I feel like the story, the writing in the story, not the acting so much, is just what's going on in the show is not as interesting to me as it was in the first season. So, yeah. Okay,
very interesting. It's funny.
Yeah, it is.
When I first started off with season 2, I thought, man, this is so much better than season 1. So much. I'm loving this. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I keep thinking I'm liking it better than season 1. It's holding my attention more than season 1. But as the episodes go on, I'm starting to think, okay, no, I'm still thinking back to the first 2-3 episodes of season 2. To me, the first 2 episodes were absolutely fantastic. I mean, just awesome. Knocked it out of the park. Third episode, I really enjoyed. It wasn't as good, but I still really enjoyed it. The 4th episode, oh man, I mean, talk about just a giant mess of agendas. And you know what frustrated me about that episode, Captain, was that it was all about let's pull together modern day agendas, and then let's create a character, the Doctor. I forgot her name already. Teresa Ramirez. That's what it is. Ramirez.
Okay.
Interesting. She's not the most memorable character in the world either, as far as her name, but I feel bad for her because that could be a really, really great character, but I feel like she's there as an agenda to prove a point versus let's just have her and make an amazing character out of her,
Yes.
And there's a little bit of that I'm seeing this season that it's Star Trek. It doesn't need to be there. It's not what Gene Roddenberry would want. He wants to set an example, not complain about the problems. And so I don't like that. And as a result, episode 4 to me was a complete failure. But then it got a little better. The last 3 episodes, that we saw, they got better. They started to redeem themselves. They're interesting. They're holding my attention. But you're right. I mean, as I start to think about, if I were just looking at episodes 4 through 8, yeah, they're not as good as season 1. But episodes 1 through 3 were better. And it's just this is a hard one to do.
Yeah, you're right. I'm taking it as a big ball of wax. But I just feel like as soon as they went back in time, it kind of leveled off at a lower level for me. It was instead of ramping up like I think a show like that should.
Yeah.
It just it ramped up and then it kind of came down to a lower level and just kind of kept going at that lower level. Just because there's nothing exciting about modern day Los Angeles. I'm sorry, there just isn't. There's no ship battles, there's no other planets, there's no interstellar politics going on. It's all them in Los Angeles trying to achieve this goal. The character, interactions and everything within that storyline are fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not that compelling to me anymore.
They've done time travel very, very well in Star Trek. So you look at Star Trek 4, it's still one of the favorites of fans,
And there's a whole homage to Star Trek 4 in this season too, for those of you who haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and then but a lot of the time travel episodes throughout the seasons have been really, really good, but they've been episodes, or they've been 2 episodes, not an entire season of time travel. Yeah. And so what's interesting though is that I think most of them did a really, really good job. And so I'm a huge fan of time travel, mirror universe, the Borg, the Q, all of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
However, I feel like they have run out of ideas, and so they're almost trying to ride on the coattails of the ones that we all loved because, so to be fair, the Easter egg of the punk rocker on the bus, listening to a version of the "Oh, I Hate You" song, same guy, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that. Okay,
I was like, funny. No way. So that was really, really cool for me.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's cool. That's the same thing. Then the other thing, when Teresa Ramirez asks Rios, are you from outer space? He's like, well, no, I'm from Chile. I only work in outer space. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space. So I liked those 2 nods, and that was fun. Beyond that, though, I feel like they're trying to ride on the nostalgia of time travel. And like you said, modern day LA, it's not that interesting. Yeah. Now, modern day San Francisco in 1986 was hilarious because it was 23rd century dudes trying to interact in 20th century Earth.
Yeah.
And like listening to Spock try to understand how to cuss was hilarious, and seeing the bird of prey decloak over a whaling ship is like, dude, this is amazing. They're not doing
cool
any of
stuff,
that.
Though, right?
They're not doing any of that in this, and they're trying to blend in. And so you're right.
It's almost like they didn't have a CG budget for this season or something like that, because they're really not relying. And I'm not saying they should rely on CG, but they're so underwhelming us with special content, basically.
Yeah.
And Brian, there's a lot of that riding on the coattails of nostalgia stuff going on.
It's a fad right
in
now.
Entertainment right now. Yeah, especially in movies. It's just a fad right now. So, and I think this Picard season 2 is kind of following along those lines. Other people are doing it, and it seems to be working. Ghostbusters did it.
But even then, that was riding on nostalgia too. But they did a good job with it. Yeah. Another thing I was going to say that's a problem, and I'll just get this one out of the way, is that they seem to be retconning everything. They're changing the past. They're changing Star Trek lore and canon. For example, Guinan met Picard and crew in the 19th century. This was season 5, the season finale of season 5 and the premiere of season 6, Times Arrow Part 1 and 2.
Okay.
They met. Why doesn't Guinan recognize Picard? That's what I want to know.
Right. I think you nailed it. It's a retcon. It's because then she's talking about how I'm going to like you when I finally meet you in the 23rd
you already
century.
Did,
whatever.
Dude. Yeah, and they're not explaining why that hasn't happened or why that changed. It's just they already met. I don't know. Yeah. That's a weird one about that. And then the other one,
I wonder if the showrunners are just not Trek nerds.
I kind of wonder that too. But
like they just didn't do the research.
Stewart's a part of this, and Whoopi is a part of this. So why?
Well, Whoopi was barely a part of it, and I doubt they consulted her.
True.
Stewart's extremely old, and he probably just doesn't remember. No offense to
I don't know
Patrick.
about that.
No.
I don't. Maybe, but I don't know about that. Well, but of course they got Brent Spiner, and how come he didn't remember that either? So
True. There's a lot of people that should have remembered that. Yeah.
So then the other thing that I find interesting, of course, this is taking place in 2024, by the way.
Different universe. That's their excuse.
No, but it's not a different universe yet. It hasn't become. They went back to the past before it branched. So it's the same universe before it changed.
I tried.
No, I know. Well, no, it's a good thought because I think, but here's the other problem. So it's 2024, by the way. So 2 years in our future, but when we're recording this, that is. The question I want to know is that why are they making it our reality? So like we personally, it's our reality present or 2 years in the future.
Yeah.
It's not Star Trek's 2024. 2024 in Star Trek was very different than what we are actually living in real life.
And World War III had already happened, right?
Yeah, World War III, the eugenics wars. What happened?
Yeah.
Is it just all gone? Like, we just totally erased that from canon?
Yeah.
That's weird. So there's a lot of issues here that I have with this that, again, as a Star Trek fan, they just kind of like pretended like all of that just didn't even happen.
Right. Yeah. No. And as a not as hardcore Trek fan, personally, I didn't notice those discrepancies, but now that you point them out, that's a little unusual. I mean, so now the season is less over, a little more underwhelming than I was expecting, but also there are these plot holes that are kind of, these big cannon holes that are a little bit concerning. I mean, why would they do that? I mean,
I
in other words,
why
piss off more Trek fans than you have to is what I'm wondering. You know,
well, this is the thing that I keep asking, because it's not just Star Trek. This is other people are doing this. You know, why? Are you thinking that fans are stupid enough not to remember this kind of thing? Are you trying to get a different audience? Are you lazy as writers? Did you not watch the show and so you had no idea what was going on? I mean, why? It doesn't make any sense to me unless there is a reason and a story that goes behind it. Kind of like the whole, see, this was the thing that they did with Enterprise was the whole, well, why did Klingons not have, you know, the foreheads and all the, et cetera, you know, that they have in Next Generation and on? Well, clearly because it was the 60s and they didn't have, you know, but they came up with a really cool way to explain this. Well, I don't know if it was a really cool way, but they at least came up with a story behind it, and they explained it, and it makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Why did the Klingons look so different in Star Trek Discovery? Oh, well, they didn't really explain that one though. But
that was just the reimagining of the Klingons, I thought. I mean,
it was supposed to take place in the current timeline or in the normal timeline.
It was, yeah. It was just a reimagining of how they presented it. You're right.
But they just, just brush it under the rug and hope nobody sees it or notices it.
Yeah.
So it's an issue. Now, I will say this. When Whoopi Goldberg showed up, first of all, when John Delancey showed up as Q, you know, and he was like young Q, and I was like, oh, and then he goes, let me, you know, make myself look like you kind of thing. And that was cool.
That was cool.
But then seeing Whoopi Goldberg, I was like, dude, I've loved her. She has been one of my favorite actresses. I don't know why, but like knowing her story, becoming an actress because of Nichelle Nichols, and just watching her as Guinan. I mean, she's been always one of my favorite characters in the Star Trek universe. I love her.
She's very likable, very relatable. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing I loved about her is that she's wise and she's a listener and she's forgiving and she's compassionate. And so, oh man, just seeing her, I know she's older, you know, and it's hard. It's weird to see that, you know, and she says, oh, well, I allowed myself to age. We can do that, you know, whatever. That was cool. And here's the other thing too. You know, seeing her, he beams into Forward Avenue and it's, you know, 10 or whatever. 10 forward. I thought that was great. Now, what didn't make any sense is when he goes back to 2024 and her bar is 10 Forward Avenue, but yet she hasn't been on the Enterprise yet. Wait, what? That didn't make any sense. And I was like, that's not cool anymore. Like it was cool. Now it's not. And here's the other thing.
It's just sloppy. That's all it is, Brian.
It is,
they're being a little sloppy.
That's not excusable. Yeah. The other thing I was going to say, the young Guinan, nothing against the actress. I have a feeling that if I were to see her in something else, I would absolutely love her because I just kind of get that vibe from her.
Yeah.
I don't like how they wrote her.
Oh, really?
Well, no, because young Guinan in the 19th century was like modern day Guinan, and young Guinan in the 24th century was.
She's a little more excitable.
She's cynical. She's negative. She's bitter. Yeah. And I was like, no. The Guinan we love is compassionate. And maybe this was she had been through so much crap. She went through a dark time and had to see Picard in order to see that, okay, now I need to be more compassionate and to give humans a chance. They did talk about that.
They did. Yeah. They did work that in. Yep. So
maybe that's okay. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I just don't like her. And again, it's nothing against the actress. It's the writing of her.
I thought she did okay. I kept every time they'd show her, I kept thinking, is that a plausible, young Whoopi Goldberg type of thing? And I thought, okay. I can live with this. I can live with it. Yeah, I thought she did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, you make good points about her attitude and her demeanor and all that. It just wasn't very Guinan-like.
Exactly. Her acting is wonderful, by the way. It's the writing that I'm not on board with.
Okay. Yeah.
But whatever. Okay. 2 stories that I find to be very bizarre. The story with Jean-Luc and his mother. That's kind of weird. I don't understand where that one's going. It doesn't make any sense. And so far, it's added nothing to the story for me, really. It's just been kind of a weird side journey that we've been on for. But it's
a big side journey. I feel like they're getting. They definitely have they have a purpose for it, clearly. But whether they come out and clue us all in on it, it remains to be seen because they haven't quite.
It's weird.
If they have, it's not obvious.
So far, it's weird. Same with the Soong storyline. I'm not a fan of the Soong storyline in Enterprise was good. This is weird. It feels out of place. It feels kind of like, well, we had to put them in because we needed to have them in the show, but it's kind of like, but again, we haven't seen the last 2 episodes yet. And so
Right.
it may tie together, but this is just, so far I'm kind of like, okay, here we go again. We got to watch these 2. It's, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting.
It's an engaging series, but it's not as exciting as season 1 was for me. So I'm just not, when I watch them, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch Picard. I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens on Picard this week. I'm not getting that feeling.
Yeah.
I want to watch it, but I'm not excited about it. And that's a problem. So,
and I feel like they could have done the Teresa Ramirez, the doctor story better. I think she deserved a better story. I think there's nothing necessarily wrong with the story. It's just sort of out of place. And it could have been
it's
a really, really
sloppy.
neat story with her. Yeah.
It's
I feel like
all of this. All of this season is more. I mean, season 1 was a little sloppy too, but season 2 seems more sloppy to me.
Yeah. Even though there's a lot of cool things.
Kind of Abrams-ish, they're kind of throwing pasta on the wall and seeing if it sticks. And if it doesn't stick, they don't care.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, on a positive note, the actress playing the Borg Queen, Annie Wershing, by the way, who's been in The Rookie and Runaways and Timeless 24, I mean, all kinds of stuff. She's really doing a great job. I mean, she is never, I don't think anyone's going to replace, the original Borg Queen for me. I mean, she was so good. And then they did a secondary Borg Queen in the Voyager series, and she did a nice job too. But I'm okay with Annie. I think she's acting very, very well at this, and I think they've done a good job. I am curious to see, spoiler alert, what happens with the whole Agnes Girardi thing. That's kind of pissing me off a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, what are you thinking?
It's going to get resolved. We know that. Maybe. But it'll be interesting to see how it gets resolved.
I kind of wonder, wouldn't it be neat though if they left us on a cliffhanger with like, okay, they didn't get Back to the Future and she ended up like assimilating the past and kind of like, oh crap, cliffhanger.
Hey, do we know, is it slated for a 3rd season? Do we know that yet?
Season 3 is confirmed as the final season as well. It was planned to have 3 seasons and that was it.
Then they better darn well leave us with a cliffhanger on season 2.
One that's just going to like tick us off and everything. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, on the positive note, like I said, the first 3 episodes were really, really, or at least the first 2 anyway, really good. I thought they did a nice job with it. It was so fun to watch. I was watching, I think, episodes 2 and 3 on the plane. Coming home, and I was just like, and then it's like, boo, time to put away your devices. I'm like, no, I'm right in the middle of it.
Let me off the plane.
Well, I hope you're enjoying Star Trek Picard, but I would love to hear what your thoughts are. And do let us know. Are you enjoying it? Are you having the same issues we're having? Maybe you're having other issues. What do you think? Please let us know. But thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. It's been fun. We're gonna probably come back for a quick little wrap up of the season. Once we finish the last 2 episodes. But all right, don't forget, lots of episodes coming out right now. Do check out the product reviews I'm doing. I did a lightsaber review last week. Got one coming up this week. It's going to be exciting. And we've got our Friday nerd out, happy hour times. I did an interview Monday. So much to watch. Check it out. Anyway, if you liked this video, honk that subscribe and the like button. And thanks for joining us. Have a great day. We will chat soon. Nice one. Yeah.
Right.
Make a show.